This video reports some of the suggestions that students have made when they're to successfully write a lab report. One of the first ones is that when you, oops, that was the wrong thing to do. When you're looking at the instructions for the lab report, there are snippets of code in here that you can actually use. So in this particular one, let me get down through some snippets here. Here's some snippets of code that we're looking at, and we're interested in using that block of code. So it'd be great if we could just copy that code and paste it. If you're viewing the document in a web browser, then it's a little bit more difficult to copy that. So here's one suggestion that students have made. Figure out how to download that document. Then find the document in your download file. So your operating system may look different than mine, but you find this in your download file, and then you open that in a separate in an Acrobat Reader document. Then scroll down to a snippet of code. Say we're interested in this piece of code. Then you can highlight that and do a Control-C to copy it. Your way to RStudio or possibly an online compiler. I'll use this online compiler. Get you a clear screen and just paste that document in. Okay, so we're able to go over to the document. The key here that people have observed is that it's a lot easier if you actually download the document and then open that document in a PDF reader like Acrobat Reader or something like that, and copy the snippet from there, and then you can paste it right in here. In our case, we were really interested in more than data. We were interested in the table. Oops. Now I'm being clumsy. In the table of the data. And we're really not even interested in that. We're interested in changing that to percents. So let's save this in something called data.t to remind me that it's the table of of the data. And what we'd really like is to have the data.t divided by, well, let's see, how many trials did we make here? 300. So 300. And now let's execute that code. And there's a table. It's kind of spread out in sort of a funny way because there's the probability of getting exactly 1 right, probability of getting exactly 2 right, and so on. Now each time we execute this, we're going to get a different result, of course, because we're doing random samples. But the idea is that this pattern will be very similar in each one of them. Here's a nice trick that you might want to try as well, though. I modify my script further and save that this calculation into a data p for probability. And then I'm going to apply a function called dataFrame to the data.p and execute that code. And that rearranges the table so that these are the rows, these are the values 1 through 10 in this case, and there's the frequency that those occur. Actually, the frequency is now a probability. So we can execute this a number of times and get different. Oh, we actually got a 12 that time. Not very often, but okay. So we can repeat that many times, and this is a little bit more readable form in the data frame instead of in the table format. So now when I'm writing a report, I want to have this information in my report, and I also want to have this information. The nice thing is that I can copy things. I can highlight this and copy it. Pull up your word processor where you have written in a bunch of instructions and so on, and then we can just paste that data in there so that somebody can see what's happening there, resulting in, now I can come back to here, and I can copy this information, return to my document, and paste that in. I might have to clean up some formatting or something to get things to look right. Okay? So we can copy data from the instruction set into our compiler. We can operate things there. We can then copy things from the compiler into this other setting. Let me do one more thing just real quickly. In your compiler, it might be that that instead of doing all of this stuff, maybe the last thing that I want to do is look at a histogram of my data. So let's execute that. And now it's producing a picture here. Often if you right-click that picture, then you can save the image or copy the image. I'm just going to copy the image and come over here to my document that I'm working on, and then the histogram for this is, and I can paste that into my document. Okay, and my document allows me to resize this if I wanted it to be a little smaller or something. Okay, so there's the idea. Take advantage of the fact that you're working with technology, that you can copy stuff from one document, paste it into another document, and proceed from there. Okay, good luck, everybody.